Practically every single millennial remembers the moments that defined their youth. Staying up late to watch MTV's music videos, laughing at the chaos of Double Dare on Nickelodeon, or catching the latest blockbuster from Paramount Pictures. Indeed, these weren't just classic shows or films, they were cultural milestones that shaped an entire generation. And yet, what if we were to tell you that all of it, every channel, every show, every iconic moment, was controlled by just one family? Meet the Redstones, the media dynasty behind an $80 billion empire that didn't just influence pop culture, they owned it. From Sumner Redstone's scrappy beginnings running a single drive-in theater in Boston to his ruthless rise as a Hollywood titan, the Redstone story is a roller coaster of ambition, power, and high-stakes drama. Yet, as the empire now passes to his daughter Shari, the family faces its greatest challenge yet: navigating a media landscape transformed by streaming wars and digital disruption. Thus, in today's episode of Old Money Luxury, we hope to answer the question: can a legacy built on owning your childhood survive in a world where the rules of entertainment have been rewritten, as we describe? The $80 billion family that owned your childhood. Money talks in media, but the Redstone fortune bellowed through gold-plated megaphones during its peak. At $14 billion in personal wealth circa 2000, with an $80 billion media empire under their control, the Redstones didn't just sit at entertainment's top table. They owned the restaurant, the street, and most of the neighborhood. Such astronomical figures marked more than financial success. They represented raw, unmatched power over American popular culture. The family's 1987 acquisition of Viacom for $3.4 billion proved so spectacular that calling it a masterstroke feels like calling Mount Everest a slight elevation. MTV alone became their golden goose, churning out over half of Viacom's cash flow throughout the 1990s with the reliability of a Swiss timepiece. And their properties were pure Hollywood royalty. Sumner Redstone's Beverly Hills estate sprawled across 15,000 square feet, complete with a wine cellar that would make French vintners weep with envy, before selling for $27 million after his passing. Heiress apparent Shari Redstone planted her flag in a 7,000 square foot Westwood, Massachusetts mansion, valued at $2.25 million, practically slumming it by Redstone standards. The landscape looks startlingly different in 2025. Shari Redstone's current $500 million net worth reflects broader market shifts, though the family's influence persists through National Amusement's iron grip on 77% of Paramount Global's voting shares. This stake ensures their continued reign over a media portfolio spanning CBS, MTV, Nickelodeon, and Paramount Pictures. Recent valuations tell a sobering story of industry evolution. Paramount Global's current market capitalization of $7.26 billion stands miles away from the $30 billion valuation achieved during the 2019 merger of CBS and Viacom. Yet even this reduced figure represents massive wealth and clout across the entertainment landscape. The roots of this remarkable fortune stretch back generations, beginning with a simple drive-in theater business that sparked an entertainment revolution. Those origins reveal how raw ambition and perfect timing transformed a regional theater chain into a global media empire that would make Citizen Kane blush. To comprehend the vast media empire that would one day stretch across America like a colossus, reaching into millions of homes through glowing screens and crackling speakers, one must first understand its foundations in the immigrant experience of early 20th century Boston. The story begins not with the name Redstone, but with Rothstein, Sumner Murray Rothstein, born on the 27th of May, 1923, to Michael and Belle, Jewish immigrants who had fled the persecution and poverty of Central Europe. Their journey from a Polish village and the Lithuanian countryside to Boston's West End was a familiar one, repeated countless times by countless families, yet the particular ambition that burned within this family would prove extraordinary. The West End of Boston in those years was a crucible of immigrant aspirations, where families packed into tenements dreamed of American success. Michael Rothstein, installing linoleum floors with meticulous care piece by piece, built a foundation for his family's survival. Bell, managing their modest household, cultivated in young Sumner an iron determination that would later become legendary in the entertainment industry. The boy watched, absorbed, learned, not just from books, but from the relentless work ethic that surrounded him. When Michael Rothstein made the leap from linoleum to entertainment in the 1930s, founding the Northeast Theatre Corporation, he could not have known he was laying the groundwork for an entertainment dynasty. The drive-in theatres, operated under the name National Amusements, offered Depression-era families an escape into flickering dreams projected onto massive screens beneath the stars. Young Sumner, spending his weekends in these theatres, received an education no Harvard classroom could provide, though Harvard would indeed come later, both for his undergraduate degree in 1944 and his law degree in 1947. The war years saw Sumner applying his analytical mind to a different kind of entertainment, cracking Japanese codes for the Signal Intelligence Service. In those high-pressure rooms where cryptographers worked to unravel enemy communications, Sumner developed a tactical mindset that would serve him well in future corporate battles. The precision required for code breaking would later translate into the precision with which he would dissect business opportunities and corporate vulnerabilities. Returning from war, Sumner briefly practiced tax law in Washington, but the family business exerted an irresistible gravitational pull. By the 1950s, he had assumed control of National Amusements, expanding it aggressively through the boom years of American suburbanization. While others saw drive-in theaters as simple entertainment venues, Sumner recognized them as nodes in a network of cultural and economic influence. He transformed single-screen locations into multiplexes, modernized facilities, and implemented sophisticated marketing strategies that turned casual moviegoers into loyal patrons. Sumner Redstone's understanding of this fundamental shift would reshape not just his family's modest theater chain, but the entire landscape of American media. Then, in the early 1960s, as drive-in theaters began their slow decline, Redstone saw an opportunity that others had missed. The traditional single-screen theater, he realized, was fundamentally inefficient, a relic of an earlier era that failed to maximize both real estate value and customer choice. His solution was characteristically bold: the multiplex, a term he himself coined, which would revolutionize the movie exhibition industry. The concept was deceptively simple: multiple screens under one roof, but its implications were profound, allowing theater owners to multiply their revenue streams while offering audiences unprecedented choice in their entertainment options. The numbers tell the story of this transformation. From 59 screens in 1964, National Amusements expanded to 129 screens by 1974, a growth rate that reflected not just aggressive expansion, but a fundamental reimagining of the movie-going experience. Each new location represented not just additional screens, but a carefully calculated bet on the future of American entertainment habits. But Redstone's influence extended beyond mere expansion. As president of the Theatre Owners of America, and later as chairman of the National Association of Theatre Owners, he wielded significant influence in shaping industry practices. But it was in the courtroom that Redstone fought his most consequential early battles. His lawsuit against the major Hollywood studios challenged their discriminatory distribution practices, which had long favored large chains over independent operators. The resulting decree fundamentally altered the relationship between studios and exhibitors, forcing studios to sell their products on a picture-by-picture, theater-by-theater basis. A fire at Boston's Copley Plaza Hotel in 1979 marked a pivotal moment in Redstone's journey. Despite suffering third-degree burns over 45% of his body, he survived through sheer force of will, though his right arm remained permanently damaged. This brush with death seemed to intensify his drive for control and expansion. Throughout this period, Redstone demonstrated an uncanny ability to spot value where others saw only risk. His purchase of 25,000 shares of 20th Century Fox stock after watching Star Wars in 1977 exemplified this instinct. When he sold the stock in 1981, the $20 million profit represented not just a successful investment, but a deeper understanding of the entertainment industry's future. By the mid-1980s, as cable television emerged as a dominant force in American entertainment, Redstone had positioned himself and National Amusements for an even more ambitious move. Thus, in 1987, as cable television matured into a dominant force in American entertainment, Sumner Redstone set his sights on Viacom, home to MTV and Nickelodeon. What happened next would transform not just his own fortune, but the entire landscape of American media. In the winter of 1987, as evening shadows lengthened across Manhattan's gleaming towers, a 63-year-old man sat alone in his office, studying financial reports with the same intensity that had marked his entire career. Sumner Redstone, who had built his fortune through a regional theater chain, was plotting something far grander: the acquisition of Viacom, a media company that owned promising assets like MTV and Lifetime. The $3.4 billion takeover he would orchestrate in the coming months would transform him from a successful but relatively unknown businessman into one of America's most formidable media titans. The timing was perfect. Cable television was ascending, and Redstone, despite his age, saw opportunities that younger executives had missed. When he finally secured Viacom, outmaneuvering a management-led investor group that had seemed certain of victory, it was merely the opening move in a grand strategy that would reshape American entertainment. MTV alone proved to be an extraordinary prize, generating more than half of Viacom's annual cash flow throughout the 1990s. But for Redstone, this success only fueled larger ambitions. In 1994, he turned his attention to Paramount Pictures, engaging in a fierce battle against Barry Diller and John Malone, two of the industry's most feared competitors. The price tag exceeded $10 billion, but it brought Redstone a treasure trove: nearly 800 classic films and a vast library of television shows. Simultaneously, he acquired Blockbuster Video, a move that demonstrated both his ambition and his occasional miscalculation of technological trends. Yet even this decision served his immediate purpose: vertical integration, allowing him to control content from creation through distribution to retail. Then, in 1999, came the masterstroke: the $37.3 billion acquisition of CBS, the largest media deal of the century. The merger created an entertainment colossus second only to Time Warner, combining Viacom's cable networks and film studios with CBS's broadcast network, radio stations, and outdoor advertising assets. But beneath the surface of this empire, complications were brewing. Redstone's personal life was becoming as complex as his business dealings. His 52-year marriage to Phyllis Gloria Raphael ended in 1999 amid accusations of adultery and cruelty. His second marriage to Paula Fortunato, a schoolteacher 39 years his junior, lasted just 5 years. Later years brought a parade of companions, including Sidney Holland and Manuela Herzer, leading to bitter legal battles over his mental capacity and millions in gifts. In 2005, citing a stagnating stock price and internal rivalries, Redstone split his empire into separate CBS and Viacom entities. He maintained control through National Amusements, his family's holding company, but questions about his competency grew louder as he aged. His ruthlessness remained legendary. He famously severed ties with Tom Cruise in 2006, declaring that stars who committed creative suicide had no place on the Paramount lot. Throughout these years, watching and learning, was his daughter Shari. She had inherited her father's steely determination and strategic mind, but possessed something more: patience. As Sumner's grip on his empire began to weaken, she waited, carefully positioning herself for the moment when control would pass to her. In 2019, as her father's health declined, she would make her most significant move yet, one that would prove she was truly her father's daughter. The transformation of control within the Redstone media empire unfolded with the methodical inevitability of a Greek tragedy, each act revealing new dimensions of a deeply American story of inheritance, influence, and familial obligation. In the palatial confines of a Beverly Park mansion, Sumner Redstone, the man who had transformed a regional drive-in theater chain into one of America's most formidable media conglomerates, found himself at the center of an intensifying struggle that would determine the fate of his vast holdings. The roots of this conflict reached back decades. In 1993, when Shari Redstone joined the board of National Amusements, the holding company that controlled both Viacom and CBS, few industry observers recognized the significance of this appointment. Her father, after all, had publicly expressed doubts about her capability to lead his empire. These doubts manifested in a series of carefully orchestrated corporate maneuvers designed to limit her influence, including the elevation of loyal lieutenants like Philippe Daumas to positions of authority within the corporate structure. But as Sumner's health began to decline in the 2010s, the carefully maintained facade of corporate stability began to crack. Two women, Manuela Herzer and Sydney Holland, had become fixtures in the aging billionaire's life, gaining influence over his daily routine and, more significantly, his estate planning. Their presence in the mansion represented more than mere companionship. It symbolized a direct challenge to the familial succession that had long been assumed, if not explicitly guaranteed. The removal of Herzer from the mansion in October 2015 marked the beginning of a new phase in the struggle. What followed was an extraordinary series of legal battles that laid bare not only the intimate details of Sumner's declining health, but also the complex web of relationships and loyalties that had developed within his inner circle. Documents filed in Massachusetts and California courts revealed a pattern of influence and counter-influence, with various parties claiming to act in the best interests of a man whose own capacity for decision-making had become a matter of intense legal scrutiny. Shari Redstone's response to these challenges demonstrated a strategic patience that her opponents had not anticipated. Rather than engaging in direct confrontation, she methodically built alliances within the corporate structure, particularly among board members who had grown concerned about the direction of the companies under existing management. The culmination of these efforts came in 2016 with the removal of Dauman, a move that fundamentally altered the balance of authority within the empire. The subsequent period saw Shari exercise an increasingly firm control over the family's holdings. By 2018, she had secured positions as non-executive chairwoman of CBS and vice-chairwoman of Viacom, positions that allowed her to pursue her vision of reunifying her father's media empire. The 2019 merger of Viacom and CBS into what would become Paramount Global represented not just a corporate reorganization, but the fulfillment of a long-held strategic objective. Sumner Redstone's death in 2020 at age 97 marked the formal end of one era and the beginning of another. The question of succession beyond Shari remains unresolved, with her children, Kimberly and Tyler Korff, maintaining a studied distance from the public aspects of the family business. Industry observers note that Shari may be preparing to break with family tradition by eventually transferring control to a professional manager, prioritizing corporate stability over dynastic considerations. This shift, from the raw, familial ambition that drove her father to her own more measured approach to corporate stewardship, reveals something profound about both the evolution of American media and the burden of inheritance. In the end, Shari Redstone's most significant contribution to her father's legacy may not be in preserving his vision exactly as he left it, but in knowing precisely when and how to let it go. And now, we'd like to hear your thoughts. How familiar were you with the Redstone family empire before this video? We love hearing your personal feelings, so let us know below, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Old Money Luxury. And cheers until the next one.